Joining us is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the Hall of Famer, six-time NBA champion. He's got a new book, Coach Wooden and Me, Our 50-Year Friendship, On and Off the Court, now available online wherever books are sold. It's good to see you again there, Kareem. How you feeling?
I'm doing all right. Thank you.
How famous were you in high school, nationally?
I actually was famous nationally, although I didn't know it because I hadn't been all over the country. But Scholastic Magazine did an article on me when I was a freshman or sophomore. And every school that got Scholastic Magazine knew about me, unbeknownst to me.
But imagine now if you'd be on the cover of Sports Illustrated, right? If you were in high school now?
Oh, yeah, probably. I was in Life magazine as a high school athlete.
But would life be different, though, growing up with a spotlight on you at an earlier age?
Absolutely.
Nationally?
But I started dealing with that, my junior year in high school.
How did your parents help you with that?
They they just ignored it and told me, you got to go to high school and get good grades. That's how they dealt with it. They just said, all of that may represent something, but who knows if it's going to bear any fruit. So go to high school, get an education, and that's what I was all about. That's why I went to UCLA to graduate.
But when you make that transition from famous high school player to then you go to UCLA, they're defending champs. Now I know you can't play as a freshman, but how does the transition work there from being famous to go to UCLA where you're going to be on the freshman team, not even playing varsity basketball?
Well, actually, for me, it went okay because we played the varsity freshman game. Varsity is the defending national champs. We beat them. So now they are number one in the country, but number two on campus. That created a situation there, and it just grew from there.
But when you had Coach Wooden dealing with, and a lot of his star players were 6'8" and under, and now he gets a big man.
Mm-hmm.
You were the first legitimate big man that he had.
Yeah, I was.
How was he different, or how did you perceive that of him coaching a big man as opposed to a lot, smaller guys?
Well, I had no experience of him coaching smaller guys, so my experience with him was, from day one. So I had nothing to compare it with. So it was just how he dealt with me. That's all I understood.
But when did you know that there was some kind of synchronicity between you two?
I realized it while I was still in high school, the way that UCLA played and the way that I noticed the Boston Celtics played, the two best teams in the country in their respective genres. I saw the similarities and realized that Coach Wooden's team really played the game the right way, and I wanted to learn from him.
There's so many things in this book, and even if you think you know everything about UCLA and you know everything about Kareem, you don't, because you bring out some things, and they're not great moments for Coach Wooden, but they're moments where he was very feisty as a coach in high school, got into a couple of fights, I believe.
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't think Coach Wooden would get into a fight where he's punching somebody.
No, you wouldn't. Saying rude and foul things to people. No, that wasn't the coach that I knew, but he had times like that. And there was other stuff about him that, he played professional basketball for about 5 or 6 years for a grocer in Indianapolis, Kautsky, the Kautsky team. It was a good team. So they played a game in Chicago against the Globetrotters. After the game, Coach Wooden said he usually went home, but he said he had to stay that night because the food was great, and it was Cab Calloway's band playing at the Chicago Savoy that night. So he and Nell stayed, and I know Coach Wooden as a church-going man, very tightly wrapped, and to think of him on the south side of Chicago with a lot of black people going hidey-ho with Cab Calloway, that does not compute in terms of my images of Coach Wooden, but he did that.
Wouldn't you love to have a picture of him?
I wish I could have seen that, man. I wish I could have seen Cab Calloway too. But to know that Coach Wooden had that experience, really, it blew my mind because that was not what I thought about him.
What was your first concert?
My first music concert?
Yeah.
My dad took me to see Duke Ellington at Louis Hahn Stadium at CCNY. I was 7 or 8 years old.
Did you understand that? Because I know that you write in the book about Count Basie that your dad missed an audition for Count Basie.
And but my dad took me to see Duke Ellington. I was in 7 or 8 years old. It blew me away to see that band. And he pointing out Cat Anderson and all, Lawrence Brown and Johnny Hodges. Wow, they were heroes of mine. And I got this input when I was still 7 and 8 years old. I grew up loving jazz.
But there was a jazz-like quality to your style on the court.
Yeah, there was.
I mean,
yeah.
did you? I mean, it was that.
I imagine myself being Sonny Rollins or John Coltrane, or some of the people that I admired, just because their music went through my head when I was playing.
Would you have wanted to have traded places?
Oh yeah,
with Coltrane or
definitely
Monk or.
I wish I could have played bass.
Are you musically inclined?
I probably was, but I wouldn't practice the piano. I wanted to play baseball. I was a big baseball fan, right? So Dodgers, I wanted to play for the Dodgers, and I pitched in Little League and for my grade school team. I got to high school. The basketball coach was also the baseball coach. He said, "Hey, you want to pitch? You can come on out." But I'd had enough. I'd played ball, freshman ball, varsity ball. Said, "I'm going to stick to basketball," and I just started concentrating on it at that point.
You ever wonder if you had stayed with baseball?
I needed to have Randy Johnson as a role model, because I could throw it hard. I just didn't know where it would go. We played the championship game in the Little League. I'm pissed off because we're losing by 8 runs, and they say, you're going to relieve our starting pitcher, John Toomey. So I go up there, and I'm so angry and everything. I said, I'm going to throw my best fastball, and I wind up, and the ball went up into the stands and nearly killed somebody, So it's good that I didn't pitch. It's good that worked out that way.
You knew what you were doing with the sky hook. You just didn't know what you were doing with your fastball.
I knew what I want. I wanted to be Don Newcomb or Don Drysdale, but that I didn't get that far.
But never a Yankee fan.
Never, not ever. No.
That wasn't allowed in your house.
No, and Jackie Robinson, the Duke, Roy Campanella, Carl Erskine. Come on, man, that was my team.
And did you get to see Jackie play?
Yeah. In Ebbets Field.
How was that?
It was awesome. And I knew that I had to watch him. They walked him. I remember they walked him, and instead of watching the pitcher and the batter, I watched Jackie, and he stole second. I remember seeing him going, and he like disappeared in a cloud. And I was like, wow, that was awesome. And, that's the only time I saw him do that, but I got to see that.
Did you meet him?
I met him. I won Rookie of the Year, and they had the award dinner at Mama Leone's.
Okay.
My rookie year, I was Rookie of the Year. So I'm sitting there at the table with Bill Russell, and Jack walks right up to the table and says hi, and I get to meet him.
But you're sitting with Bill Russell.
Yeah, I'm sitting and talking with Bill because I'd met Bill while I was still in high school, and Bill and Jackie were friends.
And Bill had already retired. I think Jackie died in 72?
Yeah.
So you were rookie in 71?
70.
70.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about Cassius Clay, first time you met him?
First time I met him, I was a freshman at UCLA. I'd seen him about a week before. He was doing magic tricks on Hollywood Boulevard for strangers just passing by. And
did people know it was Cassius Clay doing magic tricks?
And I knew it, and I saw him, and I'm like, hey, wait, that's Muhammad Ali. And we watched him for about 15 minutes, me and a couple of friends of mine, then we went on. And then just a couple of weeks later, I met him at a party.
Did his religious experience or journey have any impact on you?
No, it didn't. I thought that the black Muslims had just turned the racism that had made my life miserable. They had just turned it on its head and directed it back at white people. I didn't see that making any sense. It wasn't something I wanted to believe in. And
you talk about in the book when you were with the Bucks, when your house burned down, when there were murders in your house. You weren't there at the time. The impact that had on you. Was Coach Wooden a sounding board for you? I know he tried to get a hold of you, I think, at that time, and you weren't calling him back.
I didn't call him back. It was a really bad time. It was a tough time for me. I was trying to make a decision whether to stay with this community, and realized that the guy leading it wasn't all the way there. He was starting to break down.
There's so many other things in this book. Coach grows up in a small town in Indiana. Where is that the home of the Ku Klux Klan in Indiana?
Southern Indiana.
Southern Indiana.
Yeah.
Was that discussed with you and Coach?
Coach mentioned it. He said, the Klan was big in Indiana when he was growing up, but his dad directed him away from them, told him not to associate with those people.
How important was the discussion of race with you and Coach Wooden? Because
it was very important, and I talk about an incident in there where some woman asked Coach. I'm standing there with Coach in a restaurant. We had just had dinner, and some woman comes up to Coach and asked him how tall is that, and Coach was like devastated.
You're sitting there with Coach.
I'm standing there with him, he was talking, and she saw that we were all together. So the woman went up to him and asked him that question. And he was devastated, and he didn't even know how to respond. He'd never realized that black people had to go through that, and he didn't know what to say. On the way home, he tried to talk to me about it and tell me that ignorant people should not define my definition of white people. That's what he wanted me to understand. So I understood where he was coming from, but it really enabled him to see what a black person goes through that he had never seen before in his life. And it shocked him, and it made him realize a few things.
Do you understand Adam Jones, the Orioles, when he talked about the racism at Fenway?
It reminded me of Kirby Puckett. It was the same thing. Kirby Puckett said he didn't want to play in Boston because of experiences that he had playing the outfield there.
Did you have issues in the Garden?
No, I never heard any racial things in the Garden, ever. But I did listen to Bill Russell when he talked about how people came into his home and vandalized his home. Geez, how many championships?
In Boston.
In Boston.
Yeah.
Why did they hate Bill? What did he do? I mean,
did he understand any of this, or how do you process that?
I think Bill understood it insofar as Bill was raised in Louisiana. Okay, so Bill understood that Jim Crow racism is practiced by white people in America. You never know why, but some people embrace it. And Bill had that experience. I remember reading his book about his experience with Red Auerbach, and he said his family moved from Louisiana to Oakland, and his mom took him to the library, and it was the first time he had been to a library. And she said, "Bill, you're going to be spending a lot of time here. You better know where this building is." And he'd never been to a library before. I mean, that's what life was like in Louisiana for black people. His dad tried to buy the wood so that they could build a school for black kids. And when the guy who owned the lumber mill found out what it was about, he tried to refuse sale of the wood to Bill Russell's dad. Bill Russell's dad got his shotgun and said, "Look, you're going to give me my money back or the lumber, or I'm going to shoot you right here with this shotgun." And the guy gave up the lumber and wanted Bill's dad to get lost. But that's what black Americans, that's a common experience for black Americans that most white Americans don't get because they don't experience it. And it's hard for them to believe that America could be that way.
Well, I just remember that press conference where the famous athletes were there and you were there and Bill Russell was there and Jim Brown was there. Muhammad Ali was there.
Yeah, the summit.
And how young were you at the time?
I was 19.
Oh, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, how much did you get criticism for that, for being...
Not really, and I was glad I went. I had watched the civil rights movement unfold on TV. I was trying to understand why black Americans were hated in America. So I'd watch the news every night as the civil rights movement unfolded. And, I still hadn't gotten it, but I was hoping for change.
We'll come back. The book, and I highly recommend it. It's just such a great read. Coach Wooden and Me, the 50-year friendship on and off the court with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, kind enough to stay with us for a few more minutes. His new book is Coach Wooden and Me, Our 50-Year Friendship on and Off the Court, now available online wherever books are sold. We were talking about the summit, as you said, with Jim Brown and Bill Russell and Muhammad Ali, and there you are as a 19-year-old. Let's fast forward to Colin Kaepernick and what he did this past NFL season. What did you think when you first heard about it or saw it when he's taking a knee?
Well, when Colin first started, he had kind of a hostile attitude about his demonstrations, and people noticed it. And the 49ers were concerned, because it was turning some of their fan base off, I think. So, fortunately, Dr. Harry Edwards works with the 49ers, and I think they were able to get Colin to have his protest in a way that didn't alienate people. Because if you just express your anger, that's all people are going to react to. But if you can express your concern and do it in a way that you can communicate, some progress can be made. So I think Colin finally got it together. I understand now that nobody wants to hire him, it seems, but I think Colin did a good job. People started to understand what he was talking about, and that he wasn't angry at everybody, but he wanted to bring attention to this issue because it meant something to him.
It was a seminal moment for me. I think it was January 20th, 1968, and it was the game of the century. And I remember being a huge UCLA fan. And you had scratched retina, I believe.
Scratched cornea.
Cornea.
Yeah, 2 weeks before against Cal, scratched my cornea, and I'd spent about a week or 10 days in the Jules Stein Eye Clinic at UCLA.
And then Houston upset you with Elvin Hayes. And I was devastated. I was crushed. I don't know how you felt, but were you devastated and crushed like I was?
I understood why we lost, and I thought that we still were the better team. And I knew that if we got a chance to play them again, it would be a different outcome.
And it was 101-69, I believe, is the final in the NCAA tournament. Was it better for college basketball that UCLA lost that game?
I think so. By that time, when we lost to Houston, UCLA had won 3 of 4 NCAA tournaments. And for everybody to see us lose made everybody feel good that one team wasn't going to dominate it. But then we turned that on its head.
Is it good to have a dominant team?
Sometimes.
A dynasty?
I think sometimes, because that brings attention to what they achieved, and it gets people excited to see it stop.
There was also a moment in the book, you talk about going up to Schenectady to play against Pat Riley's team?
Yes.
So
I was a freshman. I was in the 9th grade.
And Riles is in what grade?
He's a senior.
And so you actually played against him?
Linton High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you remember about that game?
They fouled me out in the first half. I'm 14 years old. They fouled me out.
Did you commit 5 fouls, though?
I didn't commit. I got fouled at least 20 times. Yeah, I committed 5 fouls, but I got fouled a lot more than the fouls I committed. But they didn't call those fouls. They just called fouls on the team from New York because they had this tall kid playing center.
I also look at the big man, and it always feels like the big man never gives everything he's supposed to, or we're somehow dissatisfied with the big man's career. Right. Except for Bill Russell. Wilt we're not satisfied with. Shaq's we're not satisfied with. For some reason, they might find fault, well, you should have won more, right? Do you get that?
No, I don't get that. But they kind of, I think what it is being long is an advantage on the court. So people admire guys like Michael Jordan and LeBron who can overcome their relative lack of height and still get stuff done. That's incredible. It's spectacular. And people are attracted to that type of athletic talent. But tall people dominate this game still.
How would you be now when you're not allowed to put your body on people? And back then
I'd love that.
They could rough you up a little bit.
In the paint, I'd just have a heyday in the paint. I'd score a lot of points. I think that giving a team a scoring option in the paint that's reliable. I shot 56% lifetime. So getting the ball to me in the paint was a good idea.
Easier for somebody to get 80 points in a game that handles the ball as opposed to somebody in the paint?
Well, it all depends on what the coach said.
Couldn't you have gotten 100 like Wilt did?
I think like Wilt did because who was that? Alex Hannum was coaching him?
Yeah.
He told him, hey, every time down, throw the ball to Wilt. I played with guys that needed to get the ball. So, I didn't want them thinking that if they threw me the ball, they wouldn't get it back. If I got double team, I gave it up. And I tried to play a team game. And I think that enabled people didn't resent the fact that the coaches wanted me to shoot those high percentage shots because when the defense sagged, I'd pass the ball, and the guys got shots on the perimeter. And we had a balanced attack.
But that goes back to Coach Wooden, where you're playing on a good UCLA team. You had really good shooting guards, and Lucius and Mike Warren and
Lynn Shackelford.
Out of the corner, left-hander.
Yeah.
But you understood the team concept and how important it was. Plus, you got to be around this for 4 years. Then you go into the NBA. If you did a one and done now.
But no, I got to watch Bill Russell for 4 years while I was in high school, going to Madison Square Garden anytime they played a doubleheader. If I didn't have to play that night, I was there, and I watched him and learned from him.
What was it about Russell, though, so the Knicks weren't your team?
No. Who am I? All right, I can root for Ray Felix or Walter Dukes.
Okay, I get it.
Or Wilt or Bill Russell. Who am I going to root for?
Did you root for Wilt?
Not really. I like Wilt used to frustrate. Bill used to frustrate Wilt. I thought that was great.
That was all in his head. That was gamesmanship.
Yeah, that was gamesmanship, and it reminded me of Muhammad Ali, how he did that to
George Foreman.
No, to Sonny Liston. You know, had Liston chasing him around. I knew that Ali was going to win because he had messed up Liston's mind, and Liston was chasing him, trying to catch him and punch him in the mouth. And I knew that Ali was going to win that fight.
Do you care where you're ranked all time?
No, I don't care. I made my money. I got my fans. People understand what I did. And if they don't appreciate it, it's okay.
It feels like you're underrated.
I am underrated, but that's okay.
Are you the best big man of all time?
Possibly. But I'm not the most successful. Bill Russell was the most successful, and he understood how to make his team win. 11 world championships in 13 years. Beat that, Michael Jordan. LeBron is not going to come close. Come on.
Are you better than Jordan?
I'm not better than him, but I was at least as effective as he was. And I think the effect that you have on the game is how you should be judged. Bill Russell affected games. You couldn't get a shot near the basket.
I know.
He terrorized everybody for 13 years. When I was training Andrew Bynum, I told him, look, just go. There's on Facebook. Watch Bill Russell block art. That's all you have to know about how to play defense. Just watch that a couple of times. And Andrew started to get it. But he didn't stick with it. He was more interested in...
He didn't love it.
He wanted to take the engines out of cars.
Yeah. You're not going to be a great basketball player doing that.
And that's how it worked out. But that's what I tried to do.
I'll leave you with this. How would Coach Wooden have reacted if he were still alive and you wrote this?
He would have been happy. I don't know if he would have been happy about me telling about some of his dark side moments, but he didn't have a lot of them. And he overcame it, and in such wonderful ways. He should be proud of what he overcame.
And there's a moment, if you look on the back of the book, it's you and Coach, and you're helping him. And I don't know, how much longer did Coach live after this? Do you know, Kareem, this picture?
About 4 or 5 years.
Oh, it was 4 or 5. So he's very frail here.
Yeah,
even then.
That's why he came to. He didn't want. People would come up to him for autographs.
Yeah.
And he just wanted me to, keep it at a distance so they didn't knock him down.
It's a great picture, though.
Yeah, it is. And I saw a picture of that same scene from behind.
Oh yes.
Oh, and I started crying.
Crying.
Yeah, because I'm following him.
You're leading him.
Yeah.
He led you.
He led me, and then now I'm leading him. It was tough.
It's a great book. It's not just basketball, folks. It's stories, and it's lessons. It's life's lessons.
It's about how to treat the people that you care about and that you want to support, and how to accept their love and support.
Coach Wooden and me, our 50-year friendship on and off the court, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We're back with more after this. Thank you, Kareem.
It's a pleasure talking to you, Dan.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.